We are at Huaca, Pucllana, an ancient pyramid, 1,800 years old, built by the pre-Inca civilization, the Lima civilization. We're going to do a deep dive into this amazing structure. And notice the vertical bricks with space in between. That is a way of earthquake proofing. This is a high earthquake, high seismic active area, and this earthquake proofs it. It allows for motion without falling apart. Millions and millions of bricks were made by hand to build this pyramid, known as a step pyramid. Bear in mind, it was about 3 times larger originally. It's been rated for its bricks by subsequent cultures. It served for a lot of purposes. They believe administrative, ceremonial, religious. Waterway systems were governed here. There were canals running all throughout this area, the irrigation. So as I mentioned earlier, this whole region is known for seismic activity, lots and lots of earthquakes. And it just blows my mind that they thought that through 1,800 years ago and came up with a building technique with space between the vertically placed bricks that would withstand earthquakes. And this structure has stood the test of time. And it will still be here when these buildings are long gone. This is a good example of what this looked like before they started excavating it. Just a big mound of dirt. That's what it was. And then they started in 1981 to excavate and uncover what we're seeing now. You know, when you actually visit these sites and walk amongst them, as opposed to just seeing them on video. So I'm hoping that this will parlay through this video to you. You can get a sense of the people that built this. People built this. People like us that lived here used this. This was a very important part of their lives, their culture, their government. It's not just an old relic, you know, it's not just a cool ancient building, it's life. It represents life. Somebody's hands formed these, each one of these. Somebody's hands placed them there. Somebody stood right here, sweating, making this for a purpose, for a reason. And then think about this too, the quantity of the bricks. So the way they ramped to this is an original ramp. So they would walk up these ramps. Right. We are now at the very top of Huaca, Pucllana. The city literally surrounds it. And there you can see they're actively excavating. This has only been under excavation since 1981, but there's still a lot to uncover and a lot to learn. You see the way they laid the bricks? 2 this way, 2 that way, 2 this way, 2 that way. All of this is to make it resistant to earthquakes and allow the wall to move. The fact that it is still standing is absolutely a miracle. There are major earthquakes that occur in this region. Well, miracle's the wrong word. It's good engineering. The whole region was agricultural. They had a sophisticated canal system. They had an irrigation system. They had water diversion methodology. They were highly sophisticated with government. In this section right here, there are tombs, real tombs. You can see we're just slightly below the top. So this is a sacred area. There are actual people buried underneath where we're walking, and we're going to see a real tomb right over here. And similar to Egypt, when they buried somebody, they buried them with everything that they would need for their journey into the afterlife. And they've done some kind of X-ray imaging, and they have discovered tombs in the walls, underneath, and all throughout this region here. And there's another one we're going to walk over, see some more tombs. This spot right here, they discovered evidence of human sacrifices. So apparently, they also performed human sacrifices. I feel very fortunate to be able to walk amongst these ruins, get a feel for it. I hope that it's coming through the video. There's a lot of sound. There's traffic down below. We're in the middle of a great big bustling city, the city of Lima. But even then, there's a special feeling about being here. You know, it's kind of like reaching back in time and somehow connecting with those whose hands built this amazing structure. You see hand marks, you see people's fingers. These were made by hand. There's handprints in these things, where they patted them down, made them, by hand. Handprints in time, that's what it is, right? Handprints in time. Hi, little buddy. Shadow would love to be here. He'd want to play with you. Actually, he'd probably want to chase you. Yeah. You're a cute little llama. Animals are amazing. I love animals. Look at that one sleeping. That's hilarious. Those are cute little guinea pigs, and you don't want to know what they do with guinea pigs in Peru. It's amazing. There's a road right there with traffic and an ancient, incredible structure right next to it, dating back 1,800 years. Hand marks. Hand marks. So one thing I learned on the tour is the mud used to make these bricks was kneaded to get the right consistency and then baked in the sun. So check this out. We're here and there's literally a restaurant right there. I wonder if they had a restaurant 1,800 years ago. We are walking at the base of the Temple of the Sun at Pachacamac. Pachacamac is an enormous complex, 1,500 acres. It was built starting in 200 AD by the pre-Inca cultures. There were several cultures as part of the pre-Inca culture that built this over up to the Incas, and the Incas came in 1450, and they continued to build on to it until the Spaniards arrived. But it's a beautiful spot. It's right here on the coast, and this is actually an important part. The Luna River comes flowing on that side. Then you had the ocean. You can see the agriculture. This was like a center that brought together fishing from the ocean, transportation and economic activity along the river, and the agriculture all around here. It's a very important central point, Pachacamac, full of temples, tombs, different eras of pre-Inca and then Inca culture. So we're going to explore it and see what we can learn. One of the first things to notice is this mud covering everything. That is how it looked before excavation. This was discovered relatively recently. Only a part of it has been excavated. And the Temple of the Sun here, it has rooms inside, and they're actively working on it. We're not allowed to go in, unfortunately, but the size, the sheer scale of this massive pyramid complex. Look at the thickness of the walls. It's interesting too because it's a combination of stone building and then handmade mud bricks. Right here is a good example of the construction. They used stones, hewn stones for the foundation, and then the handmade mud bricks. One of the fascinating things about the Lima, Peru area is you see the weather, all the clouds. This is how it is all the time. And yet, it never rains. And when I say that, I mean a ½ inch a year. I have fact-checked that. It's true. It doesn't rain. It's just overcast all the time, but it doesn't rain. We're continuing our walk along the Temple del Sol, the Temple of the Sun. There were structures on top that aligned with the rising and the setting of the sun, kind of the shantytown looking buildings. That's on top of the Temple of Pachacamac. That whole mound, though, that whole mound is that temple complex, the Temple of Pachacamac, and they've done more work on the other side. And then you come over here to the Temple del Sol, built by the Incas. So Incas arrived in 1450, built this massive temple complex, as well as government buildings over on that side, over on that side. They basically put their brand on top of what was already here without destroying it. Just they preserved everything that was here, but they just added on too. But it's huge, 1,550 acres. And you can see that it's barely been excavated. All of that sand that you see out there, that is all part of this complex that has yet to be excavated. In the Temple of Pachacamac was the idol of Pachacamac, a wooden, like a totem pole, kind of like a totem pole. I'll show you a picture. I took a picture in the museum. And when the Spaniards arrived, they wanted to, convert the locals to Christianity, and they told them this is an idol, it's a false god. And so they got rid of it somehow, and everyone thought it was lost forever. But it was discovered by archaeologists, and that's why it's in the museum. And apparently there was an earthquake, and the earthquake covered it. Look at that wall. Look at that. Amazing, amazing scale of this giant complex. I wish we could go into it, but we can't. But yeah, so the earthquake preserved it. And the god, Pachacamac, that word means earth, soul, but it's more than just that. It means the energy, the creation of the earth, the soul of it all, or the creator of it all. And so the locals have, said that, or they surmise that it was Pachacamac himself who caused the earthquake that covered and preserved the idol of him to be found here in these later times. You can see some of the ruins, but all of that unexcavated area is part of this complex, and they're just really just now getting into it. In front of the Pachacamac temple, this whole area here, there are tombs under there, and they have discovered 1,000 mummified tombs in the general region around here. So my guide is explaining to me that the Pachacamac temple, they've covered up this wall here because of these very important and significant symbols that are engraved on it. They're protecting those with that structure. And this is what they have found that's behind that structure. Thank you.
That's okay.
We're now standing in front of the ramp pyramid, which was built prior to the Inca around 1200 AD. And you can see the foundation is big stone. And then the rest of the pyramid is built with handmade mud bricks. It's a flat pyramid. There would have been buildings on top of that, possibly housing royalty, priests, ceremonial. What we're seeing here is part of the Inca Trail that connected the Incan Empire from the north to the south, all the way up parts of Colombia, all the way down to parts of Argentina. It was a huge empire, and it continues on right down that side as well. The Inca Trail connected this massive empire that boasted a population of upwards of 12 million people. The Incan arrived here around 1450 AD and then began to continue their additions to Pachacamac. The scale of Pachacamac is almost impossible to comprehend. It covers 1,500 acres. We're standing in front of a part of the complex called Tari Chumpi. This was built by the Inca. When the Incans arrived, they established their governmental center on the site. So this would have housed their governor. It would have been the place of ruling throughout this region. We can't walk in any closer. They got it roped off. But you can still see the interesting construction method because they used rock, well-hewn rock at the foundation and then very nicely made mud bricks for the rest of the construction. It's something to behold, to try to imagine what this would have looked like in its heyday. One after another, row by row, layer by layer. Cute little llama. As I'm walking below the Temple of the Sun and alongside the Temple of Pachacamac on my last day in Peru, I would like to say a special thank you to my friends Jay and Bettina, who I've been with for these last 9 days, and they are now off to the Amazon, and I'm heading back to work in the States tomorrow. But a special thanks to them for making this trip possible for me. I am extremely grateful from the bottom of my heart. Thank you.